Welcome to the Jockey Club, a podcast looking at the movie Let It Ride, one scene at a time. My name is Dan Delgado, and we're at historic Hialeah Park where one man is having the best day of his life.
I'm having a good day.
So come on in and hang out while we talk about this day and the greatest movie of all time, Let It Ride. Don't worry about that guy at the door. I've got you covered. You can even
take my seat to the Jockey Club.
Welcome back to the Jockey Club. We are up to episode 8, which means we are doing the 8th scene of Let It Ride. Now, this is the scene right after the first race, which ends with a photo finish. Now, Trotter is waiting endlessly, or seemingly endlessly, for the results. Back with me to discuss this scene is Eric Delgado, my former radio co-host, gambler, and the person I saw Let It Ride with all the way back in 1989. And if you're playing along at home, this is going to be from minute 2350 to 2525. And now let's head on over to my usual table at the Jockey Club, where we're going to discuss gambling, photo finishes, and who's potentially Looney's brother. All right, so let's start this out. We're talking about the 8th scene. This is right after that first race ends. And so Trotter is... we're all waiting for the photo finish.
Yes.
The proverbial photo finish.
Oh, my gosh.
Which just seems like an anguish. You know, the way that race ends, where they really do an excellent job of where you cannot tell which horse wins that race. No, it's just a collection of horses going past. Who knows who won? I have a feeling that maybe for some people this is their first time experiencing what a photo finish is like, where the photo is taken right at the finish line and then you have to wait for them to develop that photo. And I do often wonder, is this a Polaroid? Is someone inside standing there with a Polaroid and they're just shaking it, waiting for it to develop to find out if Charity won or not?
Right. Well, I can tell you again from some experience a couple things about this. First of all, the shot, like you said, that we get is they absolutely deny you from having any idea of how this race ended. There's no, it's very intentionally done. And it is definitely better for the movie. But I can tell you this, every race is a photo. Every race has a photo taken. And that's for all kinds of reasons. Obviously, when it's close, right, to examine exactly who won. But sometimes it's taken not for first and second. Sometimes it's for second and third. Sometimes it's to see if there's any abnormality. So, and there could be a photo. They could throw that photo up there like that, even if it's clear that the other horse won, because they're looking at something else. So this experience for an actual bettor is way more common than it should be. You know, than you might think if you just show up there. Like, you might think, oh, it's just when it's neck and neck. A lot of the time, you know your horse won, but it doesn't throw it up there until they've looked at that photo for some reason. So in this case, it's because it's neck and neck. But again, I'll tell you this much. It's so rare that this is a great thing about like the atmosphere of the track, right? You don't really get that in this situation because they're giving you a little more, they've got a different narrative. But what would really most likely happen is all the people that are around, you're going to get, if you've got 72 people standing there, you're going to get 72 opinions right away about what happened. And you're going to get a majority right away. So it's going to be, oh, it's the 4-horse. Oh, it's the 4-horse all the way. That was the 4-horse. No, it was I think it was this. No, it was the 4. Believe me, it was the 4. So because they're standing right on the rail, they see it with their own eyes. And so as a bettor, Jay most likely, even though he's got the anxiety, he most likely has a feeling at least, you know, like, I mean, it's so rare that it's absolutely a dead heat, is what I'm saying. So
What?
in this case, again, they blur it, right?
Yes.
So you don't see it. So we have no idea, right? And then you have Jay's
Yes.
reaction. So you have to assume this one was a dead heat. But again, experience generally tells you, if you've seen enough races, you've got some feeling, oh, I don't think so. Or he was ahead, because it's very rare.
Well, here it seems like nobody knows.
Exactly.
Jay does not know. Looney does not seem to know. Tony Longo does not seem to know. Everyone is just like, oh, well, I guess we got to wait. That's just how it is.
Yeah, and if you wanted to give, okay, again, if the narrative wasn't so much about Jay's magical day, and you really wanted to give more of a California Split sort of vibe, which is just the general gambling experience, you'd get what I was saying. You'd get the 62 different people throwing out opinions right then and there, arguing with each other. Oh, what do you know? It's the 4, that stuff. But for some reason, I shouldn't say for some reason, but in here, we get nothing. So we just get the anxiety. And then it goes on, like you said, for, good Lord, it goes on long enough for Looney to go get him a beer.
Goes and brings back and have some nice beer. I love that line because it's not just beer, it's nice beer.
It's adorable,
have
right?
Some nice beer.
I've never heard a nice beer.
I haven't either, but you know what? It's going to cheer you up. It's going to make you feel better. And I always find this little moment to be so interesting because Looney, who has been anti-Trotter winning, right? Now there's the possibility that Trotter has lost. Oh, I know what to do. He's a loser like me. Let me console him. Here is some nice beer. This little moment, it's different for Looney for just this time where he's back on Trotter's side, and it's not going to last. It's just going to be till the end of the photo. It's just going to be until they announce that winner. And all of a sudden, Trotter has elevated above him, and Looney is annoyed again and is now working against his friend, at least till the end of the movie. So I always find the have some nice beer moment, which it's very polite. I don't know. It tells you a lot about the characters.
You're 100% correct because, right, it's like, welcome back to Loserville. And so Looney has the correct, social graces for that experience. The other one, where you're, like you said, where you're outclassing him for some reason because you're not trying to be a loser, that's when you get, irascible Looney. And so, nobody gives a beer better than Looney in this moment. This is the sweetest beer gift I've ever seen. And so he couldn't be happier. And who knows if he even realizes it? Like this is getting too psychological. Like, does Looney even realize what's going on with himself? Because he might think he's the sweetest guy all day long. Unless, like you say, Jay's getting ahead, in which case he becomes the villain.
All right, so when the winner is finally announced, and this also is another thing that I love, because at the beginning of this scene, it is not just Trotter, and it is, you know what, I kind of forgot. I left somebody out in the waiting, because it's Trotter from what we see. We see Trotter, we see Looney, we see Tony Longo, but we also see the guy who owns the horse. I don't even know if that guy has a name yet. I should probably look up and find out what his name is. But the guy who owns the horse is also seemingly anguished about this. The guy that we heard the tip from, who doesn't know these other characters. But when they flash the winner, we know that horse won because we do a quick cut to that guy pumping his fist in the air. And then we go right back to the Trotter Looney situation. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, exactly. And right, you have to imagine that from his point of view, even though he's not the main character, it's so much more anxiety filled because he's got everything riding on this. So if he loses, Jay's going to lose $50 and Jay's going to lose the possibility of a nice score. But this guy is going to lose easily thousands and thousands of dollars. You know that.
Sure.
We have no idea how much. But this brings me back to what I said earlier about a little bit of an education. Something that I think we haven't talked about, I haven't heard talked about, is the way this tip of a lifetime, this sure thing has come together and how it exactly would qualify itself as a sure thing. This horse, the way they've handled this horse is they knew that this horse was quality, right? And so the way the track works is there are, whatever there are, 10, 12, 15 races. And the races are going to vary in quality of horses. If you look at your program, it'll say things like $25,000 purse, something like that. Some of them will be named something special, like a particular race. It's called the John Jay Stakes horse race, whatever. And nobody really pays attention to any of that stuff, right? You're just looking like, okay, here's another 12 horses. But depending on the quality of your horse, you're going to enter your horse into certain races because you want it to be competitive. And so you'll try it out. Generally, if it's new and you think it's competitive, you'll try it maybe in the middle level races. And if it doesn't do well, you drop it down. And now it'll go to like the lower purses. And if it does better, then you're going to raise it up and you're going to go for higher purses. And a way to manipulate it would be to determine that the horse is good, and that the horse is a higher stakes horse. But instead of putting it in those races, you will put it in the lower purse races, and then you'll have the jockey on that horse manipulate the horse to slow it down. And so in the lower quality races, that horse is not coming in the money. And so then the handicappers get involved and they'll see that. And they'll go, oh, this horse isn't that good. Oh, okay, look at this. He can't even beat this field. Okay. And that's when you've done that enough to where you enter it in a race and you get the opinion of not in this lifetime. Because now in this situation, it looks like, because this will happen, people will say, you know what? All of a sudden, we had a really good week with this horse, so we're going to go for a higher purse. And people will go, yeah, good luck. Give me a break. We've seen your horse. Okay. So that's what they did here. They manipulated it to where nobody thought it was running any good. And then they put it in there like a little bit of a shot in the dark. And then, of course, that would get it a bad reputation. And then the odds go through the roof. You bet heavy, and then you turn the jockey loose in the horse. So it's not a sure thing, but the fact is that if it does perform well enough, then you're going to score huge because the odds are going to be tremendous. So it's about as close as you can get to a sure thing, other than the fact that like the other jockeys would be in on it and say like, yep, we're going to hold our horses back, which of course is conspiracy. That's crazy. That would be really
that's
hard
a lot
to pull off.
Yeah, that's kind of a lot.
Right. So in this case, when Jay, being an experienced bettor, he hears the exact story, which is that you're telling me that they held this horse Charity back for 3 races. Okay.
Yep.
That's the part where the jockey is not letting this horse go as fast as it can for 3 straight races. And so, again, it's as good as you can get, as good as you can ask for, but it's definitely not a guarantee. So the trainer there, or the owner, is sweating it out because he was hoping, of course, to blow it away, but then it came down to a finish, so he's gambled everything. And so the stakes couldn't be higher for him. And again, in this fantasy world, instead of betting any kind of the what they call exotics, he's only betting to win. And so this, I also believe, is to simplify the stakes for the mainstream viewer. Because the truth is, and I heard your, what was the last guy you had on?
Richard Linehan.
Yes. So obviously a very knowledgeable bettor. He was talking in exotics. He was talking a lot of the different types of bets and the different ways they can pay. And so I would say this too. This is for this movie. Everybody involved is only interested in whether the horse wins. There's not even, we're not even talking about place bets. We're not talking about hedging a bet in any which way.
Not at all. Not at all. Win or nothing.
Yeah. So if you're an experienced bettor, you're not doing that. Okay. If you're putting $5,000 on the horse, if that's everything you've got, you're not putting all $5,000 on it to win. You might put $4,000 on it straight up to win. But as you probably remember from our days, the way to make the real money is to bet on things like the trifecta and the exacta. Right? Which in the highlight terms was the perfecta, if you remember. And so...
Oh, wait. Perfecta is only a highlight thing? It is not a horse racing thing as well?
Correct. Right.
Oh, I did not realize that. Okay.
It's the exact. Okay, in the horse racing, it's the exacta, and then it's the same thing. Right? Perfect, exact. So
Sure.
In which the way that bet works is you bet the horse to come in first, and you bet the horse to come in second, and they have to come in that order. However, you can do something where you can bet them both directions. It's a little more expensive, but the thing is, it's a longer payoff. It's a bigger payoff because the shot is longer. So, like, especially with a horse like Charity, which went off at, 14-1? It paid 28.40.
Well, yeah, it pays at 28.40. So
Right, so I think it went off at like 13-1. So 13-1 is, if the odds of it winning are 13-1, then the odds of it coming in with an exacta, your exacta bet might be like 40-1. Like it goes up exponentially. And if you bet something like a $2 bet on the win is 28.40. You won 28.40 on 2, right? If you bet an exacta for $2 in that same race with that horse, with any of the other horses, it's going to pay maybe $150 for $2. So just think about it. $28 versus $150 for the same kind of bet, right?
Yes.
Now, obviously, you have to pick the second place finisher, right? So you have to get a little cute with it. So your $2 bet, you're going to have to bet the field just to be
yes,
sure.
You will. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So now, instead, though, you're still going to. It's going to pay $150, right? So maybe you're betting $10, right, to win $150. Okay. So that's paying 15 times the bet, right? And the other one is paying 13 times the bet, right? So now you get a little cute and you want to drop a couple of horses out of it. They're not going to come in. The only long shot that's going to pay is ours, right? So you're going to put it in with the other ones. You might be able to eliminate it, get it down to a lesser amount. Anyway, the point is that experienced bettors are going to find ways to extrapolate this even further and make it way, way, way more money. But for the fans here, for the mainstream, they just go with the win. Horse wins. That's how you bet horses, right?
Yeah.
So
that's it.
And
you bet it to
nice.
win.
It's very simple. If they tried to do it, I think they would lose so many people. It's like I remember when I saw Rounders for the first time.
Okay.
I didn't know how to play Hold'em. And
all right. And unless you were a Hold'em player, you didn't know how to play Hold'em until you saw Rounders.
Exactly.
I think that's what happened, right?
Yes. And in that situation, what I remember is that I had to wait for the cues from the players to kind of know if this was good or bad. I had an idea.
Wait, but they do explain how it works.
They explain.
In the movie.
Yep.
But it was hard. I don't remember anymore if I retained that immediately, because it is kind of hard to retain that information. Like, he explains it to you and they put it all on the table and it looks really good. And if I watch it now, but of course now I know how to do it, but if I watch it now, I'll be like, yep, that's a perfect explanation of how that works. But I don't remember if I thought that, over 20 years ago, whenever that movie first came out, 98, 99.
Well, for drama's sake, in the first hand that they show, this is the thing. They lean more toward the drama and less toward the explanation. So what happens is, Malkovich has pocket aces, right? Mm-hmm. And Matt Damon has ace-9 of clubs. And so we don't know that Malkovich has aces. We just know that he has ace-9 of clubs. And so the board comes ace-9-9. And so he's got a full house.
Yep.
And then a couple of clubs come off. And so it looks like Malkovich was chasing a flush.
Okay, yep.
And
sure.
So Damon thinks that he's trapping him with his full house. He thinks he's trapping him. But meanwhile, it's reversed.
Yes.
He's re-trapping him, right? So the thing is, at the end, we don't know either one of these things until he shows the aces. But with Matt Damon, when he goes all in and Malkovich calls, he says, I don't even need to see the cards to know what he has. And I'm like, well, what does he have? Because I'm thinking, wait, you said he had a flush, right? And you have a full house. So what does he have? It doesn't register in my head what he could have that could be better.
Sure.
Which is aces full of 9s instead of 9s full of aces. It's the sickest beat, really. It's awful. to have that
It's pretty
situation.
bad. It's pretty god awful. Yes, it is.
But again, it's one of those situations where I still don't know. Like I still didn't know because I didn't know how to play. That was a possibility. I thought what you said was I was all with you, and I think they knew that, and so it's like, yep, this drama is really gonna hit hard when you see that. Oh my gosh, he's beat. But if you're an experienced poker player, you could be sitting there and go, oh, wait a minute, does he have aces? Like before it happens, right? You could be right.
Oh, yeah. You would probably be figuring it out. You would be just like Matt Damon is, where he would know. Oh, I'm dead. Here's how I'm dead. Sure.
Yeah, and so that's like a really limited viewer. So I should say a small amount of the viewers, just like in the in Let It Ride. If they were to be even more realistic, you would lose, like I said, in that situation. I was lucky to go, oh, okay, thank you for showing me. Now I'm back in it. I get the drive. That's horrible. And now we have to drive a bread truck. But in this case, even though, it's the same thing, I kind of am thinking a guy like him is going to at least hedge his bet a little bit, right? What about betting to play? Now, in this one, no. $50 is all he's got,
Oh, no, he's got the one play. All he's got is $50. It's going to be to win. It's win or nothing for Jay. I mean, there's just no way around that. And I think even if he has more money, it's win or nothing. I think it's all going to win. I mean, depending on how much he has. Like, I'm thinking if he has $200, it's all going to a win ticket.
Right. Now, if you're the owner, right, I'm still thinking he's betting probably 80% of his money on the fact that the horse will win. And you bet, you hedge, right? Because if you bet place, what'll probably happen is you'll get your money back. The place money will give you the 3,000-4,000 that you bet and didn't win with. That's called hedging. That's why they do it. Because just in case my big bet doesn't come in, I didn't lose. Kind of like Looney. I won't lose too bad.
Well, he does bring in the other guy.
Right.
To bet along with him.
Yes.
Right? So who knows
his backer.
Exactly. Who knows what that other bet is? Who knows? Or maybe they pooled it and did it one big bet. Probably not. They probably went ahead and split that up and made a bunch of little bets.
Yeah, and they're not going to get that deep.
You want to avoid the suspicion, I would think.
Yes.
Although, you know what? At some point, though, the odds on Charity go down from 40 to 1.
Yeah.
And Trotter sees it and immediately is like, oh, they made the bet. Now I'll make my bet. So that does happen. So maybe it is just one big, maybe just for the purposes of the story, maybe it's just one big giant bet that they had some other guy, maybe the guy he brought in came in and went and did the bet for him.
At least the majority. So it could still be that. And that definitely makes sense. And that does indicate, right, to go from 40 to 1 to 13 to 1 with a crowd that big. They bet, who knows? They might have bet $50,000. Those races, they get tens of thousands of dollars bet. So there's every reason to believe it was that much.
28.40. That's a big win at 28.40.
Exactly right. 14 times your bet, whatever it is. Right? You bet $50,000 and you win $700,000. So
all right,
that's a good.
So
day.
The first thing that I want to say when this horse wins, right? And it is Trotter's first win of the day. Is that official? That Looney's reaction always gets me because he is just like, I can't believe I didn't bet that. This is the only time I think that we're going to get that out of him because later on, it's just resentment and it's, I did the right thing, which is to not bet on a sure thing. That's coming up later in the movie. This bananas thought process. But in this moment here, he just realizes how stupid he's been. How did I not bet this?
Right. I agree. It almost seems out of character. And I've said it myself, just like you, how weird it is that all of a sudden he cares. But I started thinking, again, you're getting really psychological, but maybe, he's kind of self-loathing. And so when you're someone like that, you immediately want to bash yourself. And so whether or not he ever wanted to bet, because he shows no, at any point, any inclination of wanting to bet this. So for him to now say, why didn't I bet? It's not like he was on the fence. He was never on the fence. He was never going to bet it.
He was never going to bet it. He wasn't even going to think about it. He was going to move on. If it wasn't for Trotter, he would not even be thinking about it.
Yeah, because I'm going to do the right thing, which is not to bet on a sure thing.
Which is to not bet on a sure thing, which makes zero sense unless you're somebody like this.
Right. Right.
And
so
that's
why that leads me to think that in that moment that it must be some sort of self-loathing kind of mechanism, to now, oh, great. Now, again, you're an idiot again, even though he was so sure of himself.
So he goes from I can't believe I didn't bet that, and immediately shifts to I'd hate to have to walk around this joint with $700 cash. Like, this is some major worry for Trotter, who has just won $710. But he's like, oh no, you're right. I do have to now walk around this money. I'm terrified. My day is ruined. Like, I don't even understand. I do get that he's trying to bring Trotter down, but this sort of revelation isn't the way to do it. This is not going to be a problem. Yeah, I'll take that risk.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. It's from like the mind of a child.
It really is. It really is. It's very childish.
He's run out of, and honestly, if I'm Looney's, if I'm Jay here, I probably want to punch him right in the mouth for saying it, because you just alerted everybody all of your faux concern is now real thanks to you. Anything about like somebody trying to bop you over the head.
Well, instead of that though, what Trotter does is he just freaks out. Like, this is Dreyfus Unleashed in this moment. He is absolutely going bananas with you're the unluckiest person in the world. And
710.
I know. Who do you like in the second? And then he tells him, and then, like how he scratches it off. Who do you like in the second? Looney actually answers this question and then scratches it off. No, because you know what? You really are the unluckiest person in the world. And then, of course, I love, you got a brother? I figure it's in the blood. Like, it's a lot of daggers coming back out.
Yeah, and all in a row. Looney. Like, yes, it's like he's been waiting to unleash on him.
Yes.
And he even points out it's 710.
710, yes.
I know, it's fantastic. He goes from he's smacking him around. You had it. It's like I started thinking about like he has these like Gonzo moments.
Yeah,
that's the best thing I could come up with, because he does it earlier where he says, do you really think he can win? Do I really think it? Well, let's examine it. He starts going down the things, and then he does
the first one.
Yes, I think charity can win.
Yep.
And it's like a cartoon.
Yes, all of a sudden, this other version comes out, and exactly, and it's full on here. Like, there is just a glimpse, but here he's just losing his mind on Looney. And also, we do get this revelation that somewhere in Cleveland is Looney's brother. We find that out.
Right.
It's completely irrelevant, but you do like the idea of Looney's brother like sitting there and then maybe answering the phone. And then, hey, I'm at the track. I'm at Hialeah. Who do you like?
Absolutely. Listen, I've thought of that because I've seen it so many times. I've thought of it so many different times when he said this, because it's like, yep, like you said, I can picture the exact moment. He's sitting there in his chair. It's, dark. He flicks on the lamp, right by the, he's got the little like table, phone table.
Yes.
He picks up in Cleveland, right? He's like, hello. Yeah, he says, hey, I got some information on a sure thing. Well, us loonies, we never bet a sure thing.
All right, first of all, I like how you've now made Looney his last name instead of just a specific nickname to him.
I know.
Right?
It's the Looney.
No, we're from
the Looney Brothers.
The Loonies. Yeah, so like if they appear on Family Feud, then there's 5 of them there, and behind them it would say the Loonies. Right? Yeah, they'd all come out
Loonies.
of the fake portrait clapping. Yes, the Loonies.
It's Jocko, Mario, Dumbo, Flippo. Yep. So, yeah, I love that moment, right? Because it probably is in the blood. It's such a great line by Jay.
All right, so who's playing Looney's brother in your mind?
Who's playing? Okay. So
I got a guy.
Oh, you got a guy?
I got a guy.
Oh,
You go
okay.
first.
Give me your
I don't
guy.
want to steal your thunder because maybe we got the same guy.
Oh, wow. That'd be okay. Go ahead.
No. You go first.
Oh, I go
want to steal your
first. I
thunder.
go first. Okay.
Yeah. You go first.
All
You
right.
get
So
it.
my guy
Yes.
is Paul Kozlow.
All right. I have to actually look up.
Okay. No.
Paul
Don't look it up. I'm gonna give it. No, I'm gonna give it to you. You're gonna know immediately.
Okay.
Hog Wild.
Oh.
He's the one that wears the suit.
I'm sorry. Which guy is he?
He's the one that breaks his arm trying to wear the suit.
Oh, I know who that guy is.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yep,
sure.
yep. And Mr. Majestic.
Oh, okay. Yes. I know who this guy is.
Okay.
Okay.
So obviously that's not your guy, but my guy is right. He's a character actor that has played a lot of different guys, but most of the time he plays like a stoolie. He plays like a henchman, and he's usually the guy that you don't expect to like get involved and foul it up. So that's
right,
his general character.
Oh, and I just want to clarify that when Eric says Hog Wild, he's referring to a particular episode of The Greatest American Hero. And I would say that if that show was on in syndication and you hadn't watched it in a while and you turned it on, the odds of it being that episode were probably 3-1. That
Right.
episode seemed to be always playing. I don't know if it was just some weird coincidence.
Wow.
But I know I've seen that one, I think, more than any other.
It's probably the most wonderful episode of the show. It
is.
really is. They cover so many wonderful things. But yeah, they look similar enough, but it's mainly the personality I was thinking. So
Oh, no, yeah, that's fine. All right, mine's completely off board, by the way.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, not even an actor.
Oh.
Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
Steven Tyler. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, look, you got man.
Well, tell me those two don't look like they could be related.
Oh man, in all the
Right?
worst ways.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you put Steven Tyler in like some funky clothes, like different funky clothes.
Right.
And I think you got another Looney.
Oh yeah. Except for when he answered the phone, it's like, yeah.
It's probably going in a little bit of a different direction.
Right.
But nonetheless, you get the idea.
Okay, so your guy, now your guy, I don't know if I can't hard to imagine Steven Tyler like telling him not to go for it.
Oh, well, you got to imagine. Well, no, what he's going to do in this situation is recommend a horse. Who does your brother like in the second race?
Right.
So he'll read off the names, and then he would say, "Hey, you know what? Didn't you have a cat named Junebug?
Right.
You should bet on that
Nope.
one.
You're
Right?
on.
Something
You're
like
on.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, too bad they didn't they didn't think of that. That would have been nice. You see Looney sneak off to a payphone.
Hey, I just want to know what you think. Yeah, that would be really funny. All right, so this scene, which we're already at the end of the scene, after Trotter flips out on him and says all these terrible things and musses his hair and then runs off, like just runs, exits the scene by running. Looney says, "You don't have to get personal."
Yeah.
Which I think is hysterically funny. This little scene is really, really funny. I think this scene is hysterically funny.
It might be the funny. No, I don't know if it's the funniest so far. No, the cheeseburger is probably the funniest.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you're right. They get so much out of every little sequence.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I have to say? Okay, I just discovered this. And this is good news, I think, for both of us and everybody involved in loving Let It Ride. But do you know what the current IMDb score is for Let It Ride?
Oh, all right. I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to guess it's 6.4.
Wow, okay. You guessed it exactly.
Oh, nice.
You guessed it exactly. That's fantastic.
I was pretty positive that it was in the sixes. So
Way to
I mean,
go.
I've seen it before.
Okay.
Sure, but not in a while.
That shows me how long it's been since I've looked at it, because I remember a time when it was something like 4.6.
Ah, see that? So the reputation is growing, is what you're telling me.
Without a doubt. And just like there's a lot of these 80s movies, that are 30, 40 years old that are getting like a new life because they're getting a new audience and people are realizing they got it wrong. We know this story. But this movie, as you know, for the longest time, my feeling, and I'm sure it was yours too, was like, I know nobody likes it, but we don't care. That was like what we had to say. Like, I know, and it doesn't change anything for us.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct. Yeah.
So that tells me that we were in a time when it was understood. I mean, I bet you right now, I go look it up on like my Roku if you do like a search and they give you like some, who knows where they get their opinion. If you ever search anything, they do the 4-star format. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
So I guarantee you, even on their still, it says 1 star.
Ooh, you think it's 1? You don't think it's 2?
Okay, I'll say this much. In the last 10 years since Roku's been out, I've seen it at a 1. So I don't know when the last time is that I saw it.
Are they getting the same star system that I used to see in the TV Guide?
It's the same one.
In the local TV Guide when I would look up movies in the 80s and the early 90s? Do you know what I'm talking about? Because so many of the movies that I really loved were like 2-star movies, were generally 2-star movies.
Yes. And everything was riding on it, too. It was like you couldn't wait to see what they thought of that movie. And if it said 2.5 or 3, you were like celebrating.
Oh, yeah. 3 stars was always like, oh, this is really good. Okay. No, it's accepted. It's not just me this time. This is a consensus. Yeah. Like that was, I don't know where the local TV guides got their stars from. Was there a Rotten Tomatoes that they were tapping into that the general public didn't know? Because I always got the impression, all right, the TV Guide listing is some sort of consensus opinion of what people who know, this is what they think.
Absolutely. And we were so limited in our ability to get information. This was like 90% of what we could know was what TV Guide was telling you.
Yes.
This was absolutely validation. And so I agree. It's similar. What you got out of Roku, it seems like the same thing, right? They don't back up anything that they say. They just give you the 1, 2, 3, 4. So
yeah.
It's on you, pal. It's 1 star. So I'm just saying that when I looked it up and I saw 6.4, I said, wow, like at this moment, I honestly didn't realize with the beginning of this podcast that we were at 6.4, which is now is to say, hey, we're talking about a pretty good movie no matter who you are.
That's right.
Okay, I didn't realize we were living in that world. That's what I'm saying.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I don't know that I knew we were living, or I mean, I knew it was in the 6s. I never really thought about it much. Because, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's still 27% with
exactly
with a whopping 11 reviews, by the way.
Right. Because the problem is, right, you'd have to get modern reviewers in there, or you'd have to get you'd have to get new reviews, period.
Yes.
So that's definitely hurting it too, right? Because that's, again, when it first came around, and I'll bet you a lot of it was the fact that you couldn't see it. You could only see it one time before you review it. Like you weren't exactly getting to stream it and, examine it. The topic was a different, really unique approach to the topic. So I'm thinking there's some stuff going against it that made the reviews easily, it almost feels like, we didn't quite get it, so we didn't like it, the first time around.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, with a 6.4, it means, I'm just saying, I just didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, we're now in a let it ride renaissance, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and right, we're almost like we're doing this podcast for good cause now.
That's right. You know what? Maybe that's what we need to do. We need to put out a call to action. If you're listening and you've not gone to the IMDb and rated Let It Ride as a 7 or higher, then you need to be doing that.
Wow.
Is that what you're saying?
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to take this thing to a 7. Let's get this to a 7, people.
Because I don't know about you, but for me, 7 is that number. That's the magical number for a movie for me. Like if it's 6, I'm like, okay, all right. But if it's 7, it's like, no, that's officially good.
It's officially good.
Yeah. You can't fuck around with a 7 on IMDb.
That's right. That's right, damn it.
I remember even like this, I guess it's going back, but when they, maybe it was when they did their top 500. I remember you could, I'm sure they still do that, where you could look up their top 500 movies.
Oh, sure, of course.
In your top 500, you had 7s.
That's how old we are, though.
It's probably not anymore.
I don't think that exists
right? No,
anymore.
I know you're going back a ways, but I'm just saying, like, that's how a 7 gets to be like a legit number. Is that?
Yeah. Oh, it's the top 250. I think it's
oh, right. You're right. It is the top 250. So
top
I'm saying, right,
bottom
250. There were 7s in there. Yeah. So if we can get it to a 7, then we could retire.
We could. Yes, that's the new goal of the podcast.
Right.
Examine the movie one scene at a time and increase the IMDb rating. It's good to have goals.
You're right. Look,
accomplished a lot here.
That
tonight.
should go on your little information.
My little information. All right.
When you give out information,
that's what I do. My entire podcast career is basically just giving out a little information.
Just a little bit, right? Don't hit them over the head with it. But 7 and up.
7 and up. Okay, is that the slogan we're going with?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, you could let it ride to 7.
Ah, okay, that sounds pretty good. All right, we can workshop it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Jockey Club. This episode was hosted and produced by me, Dan Delgado, and a big thank you to my guest, Eric Delgado. No nepotism there at all, I promise. Our theme music is from Epidemic Sound, and our cover art is by Sean Labrie. If you enjoyed this episode, and yes, I would really like to think that you did, then you can help the show out by buying me a coffee. Yes, that's a thing, and there's a link to it in the show notes on how to do it. If you're saving up your pennies to bet on the 4-horse, or you've got a tip that's hot to trot, I understand. But you could still support the show by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you may be listening to this. Maybe you're on Good Pods. Maybe you're a pod chaser person. I don't know, but look around. Is there a review section? Then just find one. And if there's not, just, maybe tell a friend about the show. That works as well. You can contact me through email. It's dan@moviemaker.com. I'm on Twitter @_Dan_Delgado. Or even better, I'm on the Repod app, which is a great way to not only listen to podcasts, but to interact with podcast hosts like me. Find it in your app store, come on by, and say hello. This has been Dan Delgado for the Jockey Club. And remember, sometimes you could be walking around lucky and not know it.